The Liberal Democrats have been clear throughout the progress of this bill that we think the government would be misguided to make this change. While it may raise some tax revenues in the medium term, in the longer term it discourages pension saving. It also puts an extra cost and admin burden on small businesses at the worst possible time. And for this reason we support retaining Lord's Amendment 6 and 12, which would exempt small and medium-sized businesses and charities from this. I would also like to note again, as I did in my speech at the second reading, that I am sceptical of the timing of this change. This change will, very conveniently for the government perhaps, only kick in during the likely election year of 29-30, not 26-27, 27-28, 29-30. So it seems as if the government is motivated here more by a wish to fix their numbers nominally to meet their fiscal rules, rather than because they genuinely believe this change is the right thing to do. Turning back to the amendments at hand, as set out in Lord's Amendment 5, put forward by my colleague Baroness Kramer, raising the proposed threshold to £5,000 from £2,000 on NIC's exempt savings, this would at least mitigate the impact on many lower and middle earners. We think this is a sensible way of ensuring that it is genuinely those who can afford to pay more who are impacted by this change. Whereas the proposed threshold of £2,000 will undoubtedly hit people on relatively modest incomes who are simply trying to do the right and sensible thing and plan for their future. The CBI has also expressed their strong support for a threshold at £5,000. Ministers will have seen the analysis produced by the OBR in response to the former Lib Dem Pensions Minister Steve Webb's request. He highlighted the flaws in the government's claim that these changes won't impact most lower and middle earners, i.e. those not saving more than the £2,000 threshold in any case. In response, the OBR has published new analysis which highlights three main channels through which the effects of this bill could well spread across the wider workforce. First, employers may move away from salary sacrifice altogether by increasing ordinary employer pension contributions in place of wage growth, or by reducing contractual pay in exchange for higher contributions. The OBR's new analysis makes clear that any change of this kind would necessarily have to be applied across all of the workforce and couldn't be limited to higher earners. So the impact of these changes could indeed see lower pay rises or reduced base pay for employees contributing less than £2,000. Secondly, the new analysis also spells out that some employees may move to make standard pension contributions, including through relief at source schemes, thereby losing the NIC's advantages of salary sacrifice and increasing their NIC's bill, even if they contributed small amounts. And thirdly, the OBR models that employers would pass down around 3/4 of the additional NIC's cost to employees, mainly through lower wages, which again would likely hit all workers regardless of the amount they save through salary sacrifice. So not only does this OBR analysis indicate the government has been wrong to frame these changes as something which would only impact those with broader shoulders, but crucially, when you assume a significant behavioural response from employers and employees, the OBR also estimates that what this policy is expected to raise will fall by almost half, from £4.7 billion in 29-30 to £2.6 billion in 30-31, as these impacts feed through. So I'm interested to understand whether the Minister agrees with it at that point or not. Raising the threshold from £2,000 to £5,000 will not solve these issues entirely, but it would mitigate them by exempting a larger number of people on lower and middle incomes from the key change in the bill, and this will in turn reduce the number of employees impacted. Now I would like to come to Lord's Amendment 2 regarding the repayment of student loans. This was also explored in the Lords, but I think should be reiterated here because I think this is probably inadvertent, but nonetheless a significant issue. And I appreciate the Minister's words, but the facts remain that for any graduate who saves above the threshold, not only will their NIC's payments go up, but so will their student loan repayments. And this is a double whammy on a group who are already struggling with high interest payments, escalating debt, and a very challenging job market. So, to conclude, with 4 in 10 people in the country, whether it's in my constituency of Witney or anybody else's constituency here, already not saving enough for retirement, and the pressures on the state pension and social care system being well known, it is counterproductive to reduce the incentives for those who can afford to save towards their retirement.